Hey guys, welcome back. It's Jerry once again here at Hilltop Firearms Training Center, Dover, Tennessee. Thanks for watching. I'm on the range today with Trijicon's MRO, the Miniature Rifle Optic. Several months ago, around August, I recall seeing a video that Travis Haley had released, focusing on this new exciting release from Trijicon. Now, basically since his initial review and several other follow-up videos, it has been taking the shooting world by storm. This is the go-to optic right now. It's got a lot of hype, a lot of publicity, and from what I gather, everyone out there is basically very pleased with its design, initial construction, and of course, you know, it has a long reputation from, you know, a company that has been known synonymously with high-quality optics, Trijicon, supplying various military units across the world with their ACOG sights. The one thing that sort of stands apart for me is I'm very pleased to be able to take this with me on an upcoming class. So 1 week from today, I'm going to be out at Valor Ridge running this little optic, and from what I can tell, the class that I'm taking, Rifleman 1, will be shooting out to 300 yards. So I'm basically kind of doing a semi-review of the optic itself, but also I plan to kind of do an after-action report as to how did this little optic perform. Now, with that being said, there is a lot of folks that I am subscribed to that have done some very, very in-depth reviews of the optic, its construction, and what they thought of it. Check out, of course, the Military Arms channel, of course, Haley Strategic, first one I actually saw. There's so many folks out there doing these videos. Sage Dynamics just did a really, really good, very honest review of how the optic seems to be running. I'm not even going to try to compete with that. I just sort of want to tell you some of the highlights that I personally have seen just by having this in my hand and running it today actually on the range, just trying to get it zeroed. One of the things that sort of has stood out for me is Aimpoint. Aimpoint's T1 Micro, T2, the H1. These are and have been the go-to miniature optic. If you wanted something that had extended battery life, variable controls, extremely durable. The only thing personally for me was, and I don't mean to say this in a negative way, but not everyone has a budget to afford, say, the T1. The T1 Micro is extremely expensive. Of course, you get what you pay for, and Aimpoint has sort of dominated the market when it comes to miniature red dots. Now, here's the deal, guys. If you think about it, there's so many companies out there making a really good little miniature, and they're making them smaller and smaller, and a lot of people are running these. But the one thing you have to remember is sometimes you save a few bucks, but you have something that has limited battery life, or it just cannot take the abuse, say, that the Aimpoint could. Well, the other side to that is Aimpoint sort of has dominated that market, so people that can afford it have been running them, and with highly good reviews. The thing is, Trijicon, their MSRP is quite considerably less money than what you would pay for the T1, T2, or even the H1 for that matter. All right, folks, let's kind of take a little walk around this little optic, and I'm going to kind of show you some of the really, in my opinion, very unique features that is basically exclusive only to this optic. First of all, you're going to notice that the adjustments are located here on top. The shooter, from this perspective, can see what settings they are running, but what I really like is, let's go ahead and turn it back to number 1. Number 1 would be, of course, the lowest power setting, and then you have an upper and lowercase letter N, which of course would be for night vision. Now, say you're running a PVS 14, you have the lowercase and uppercase, so this would be the highest setting for night vision compatibility, lowest, and then off. So it's kind of cool because you have 2 night vision settings, and then immediately you go to your lowest power, second lowest power setting for really low light conditions. Then you have an off position. Now, it also, I like that because it kind of gives you these staging areas where you can set the optic and quickly return it to the off position if you needed to. But if, oh, you know, I'm in a really low light condition, there I am, you know. So that's kind of unique. I've never seen that really before. Now, another cool thing is, say, if you turn it to 3, you're looking at, with new batteries, you're looking at a 5-year standby. So you can turn this dude on, leave it for 5 years, and hopefully this thing should still be working. Of course, I haven't had time to test that, but no one really has yet. Of course, one thing that really is kind of nice is at the highest power setting. Yesterday it was actually sunny when I started actually messing with this, and I sort of pointed it up towards the sky. I could still see the dot extremely clear and very bright. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to back it off here, and I'm going to attempt, with the camera that I have, all right, you can kind of see the dot, right? And then it gets a little brighter. Now, as I go brighter, to the human eye, it's very, very concise and clear and crisp. But of course, with the camera that I'm using, it looks like it's all distorted. That is that's not correct at all. That is not the way I'm seeing it, and the human eye will not perceive it that way. But the way this camera is basically picking it up. But the one thing that I wanted to talk about is inside the tube itself, except for a little area right here, there is no circuitry that is present. And not to say anything negative about the T1 series, but whenever I have shouldered one of them mounted on a rifle and aim it at a target, I have always noticed in certain lighting conditions the circuitry really sort of stands out to me. Now that's just a personal observation. Once again, not saying anything negative about that, the T1, T2, or H1 for that matter. All right, so let's bring it around here. Now, you have a half-minute of angle adjustment. So at 100 yards, 1 click is 1/2 of an inch. So it makes sighting this little guy in really, really simple. If you'll notice too, let's kind of turn it to the side here. Do you notice how the 25mm objective is just much larger than the area where the human eye, the ocular area, where you start to look through? That really seems to aid in giving the shooter a much larger field of view. The other thing I think that really jumped out for me is, if you'll notice the adjustment knobs here, they are recessed yet exposed, but you don't have to worry about taking off little adjustment turret caps, you know, and then getting in there and making your adjustments and then screwing the little cap back on. Even when they're tethered, they're still sometimes a little bit of a nuisance to have to, you know, unscrew, make your adjustments, and then put it back on. You don't have to do that with this. Basically a flathead screwdriver, heck, you could use a spent shell casing to make your adjustments, say, in the field. Now, here's the deal. So a lot of people, I've read a few things where they said, well, you know, it has a darn 2-minute of angle dot. And at 100 yards, that's a 2-inch dot covering your target. Well, think about it. These are so you can quickly pick the dot up and make your hits. That's what most of these red dot type sights have been designed for. I do not see how that would be an issue, even at extended distances. If you needed to make a real precise shot, lower the brightness to make the dot just a little more faint. If you're really concerned about a 2-minute of angle dot, then maybe you need to use more of a magnified optic anyway, because I think it's quicker for the human eye, and most shooters for that matter would probably agree that the human eye is going to pick up a 2-minute of angle dot a lot faster than, say, that 1 minute of angle, which is really common with, say, your RMR, which is also made by Trijicon. Guys, this little dude is just packed full of features, and last thing I wanted to talk about right here is the construction. You're looking at forged aluminum housing, and it's armored, very reminiscent to the ACOG, which is, you know, the sight that we mentioned earlier. It's extremely durable. It looks like you could really put this thing through a lot of abuse, and it would keep working, just like the ACOG has built that reputation. All right, guys, that kind of wraps up. Like I said, I wasn't really trying to do a major product review of this optic. There's plenty of videos out there on it. I just wanted to kind of give you my take on some of the features that I really felt that stood out to anyone that is interested in making a purchase such as this. Everything about it is, to me, it's extremely positive in its design. I love the larger field of view with the 25mm objective. It's just, and also even if you look at it, you know, it's much larger here than of course it is here. And when you bring it up, your eye is naturally drawn to that dot, the 2-minute of angle. It does pick up really well, but what I really like is the field of view. When I'm engaging a target, I can see a lot more of what's going on. The price point, I mean, you've got to think, if you could save about $200, why would you not? Extended long 5-year battery life, if you keep it on, say, like the number 3 setting, you've still got a lot of dot there. During, say, a hostile encounter or something, and you reach for your battle rifle, it's really not the time to have to either flip up iron sights or turn the little dude on. Being able to turn it on and leave it on and know that that thing is going to be running, say, 3 to 5 years down the road, that's a big deal for me. Up until now, really the only other optic that offered that in such a small package was, of course, the T series of Aimpoint micros, the H1, T1, T2. Great optics, but this thing right here, I'm telling you, is going to be a strong contender. So it wouldn't surprise me to see this thing right here really selling, and selling well for the next few years to come. As always, like I said, guys, thank you for watching. We will see you soon on the range.